Hey guys, this is my prediction video for Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman, and I have no idea who I'm going to pick in this fight. I'm really perplexed. One of the rare times, but I really think it's going to come down to, as crazy as this may seem, who is more shot, and is Manny Pacquiao catching Keith Thurman at the right time? Because yeah, okay, fine. Manny lost to Mayweather, he lost to Marquez by KO, and he struggled mightily and lost, in my opinion, legitimately to Jeff Horn. I scored the fight for Horn by a point or two. But as bad as he might have looked in those fights, they were not stylistically very advantageous to Manny. And Thurman is a lot easier for Manny to deal with than they were. Because while Mayweather won that match, it was still an 8-4 type of match, maybe even a 7-5 type of match. Manny does not get nearly enough credit for his boxing skill because they wanted to hold him up far too unfairly and harshly and judge him to a way too high standard by saying, well, he lost to Mayweather, he lost to Marquez. Most people lose to Marquez, most people lose to Mayweather. Does anybody really think that as good as Thurman is and has shown moments of true brilliance, on his best day, is he ever as good as Mayweather? Has he ever been as good as Marquez? No. Does he have the power that Marquez possesses? I'm not sure. He's heavy-handed. He hasn't scored a KO in a very long time, but he's heavy-handed enough to keep his opponents at bay and get their respect. But even in losing a lot of those fights, Manny Pacquiao was still always right there in the mix. The Mayweather fight, but it's Mayweather. What do you expect? He's able to neutralize his opponents and take away their advantages a lot easier, and usually gets stronger as the match progresses, as opposed to Thurman, who usually falls apart the more the match progresses. So, I mean, you can't really use any of his recent losses as some kind of truncheon to beat Manny over the head with and say, oh, this is explicit proof that he's gonna lose to Thurman, because they don't really fight alike, and Thurman is not nearly close to being on their level, especially Marquez and you could point and Mayweather. You could point to the Horn fight, but Horn brought a completely unique style to the table. And I predicted that Horn was going to win over Manny before the fight took place, because Horn, while most people think he is a hack or a joke, or he's not. He's got a very deceptively good skill set. His rhythm, his footwork, his head movement, he's very non-linear. He's very herky-jerky. He has almost an arrhythmic style. It's incredibly hard to get the timing of, even though Terrence Crawford stopped him. I mean, think about it. He had a lot harder a time with Horn than most people thought he would. And it didn't really look like it, but still, Bud was holding as much as he could. He was doing everything in his power to neutralize him. He was holding. He was running. He would land a 1-2 or land a left and then grab and hold. I mean, there's a lot of wrestling in that match, and Bud had the size to be able to neutralize Horn to a certain extent, and Manny Pacquiao did not. I mean, that rough and tumble fight. I mean, that rough and tumble style. While he didn't really win a round of that match, and yeah, Benavidez won more rounds, but Benavidez is also a natural counterpuncher and not as aggressive as Horn. So Benavidez staying on the back foot, he was able to counter Bud more, whereas Horn was always coming forward. And so a guy who's small, not really expecting how rough and violent the match is going to be, this much bigger guy was able to roughhouse and manhandle. But still, even then, Manny Pacquiao almost knocked him out in the 9th round. I mean, he had him in horrible shape. And then you look at the other performances Manny has done recently. I mean, look at his shutout of Broner. Yeah, fine. Broner has looked like hell for years. But he was also competitive with Jesse Vargas. He closed very strong with Jesse Vargas. He didn't do enough to win a draw in my book, but he did win the last 3 or 4 rounds. And he found it in his heart to really push and try to, at least try to get the victory. And he did the same thing with Mikey Garcia. Mikey was shutting him out for the vast majority of the fight, but he's closed strong. He had a good last 2 or 3 rounds. He didn't even try that with Manny Pacquiao. He was scared shitless against Manny. The speed was such an issue for Broner that he looked lost. I mean, also Manny Pacquiao hurt him far more than either Mikey or Jesse Vargas did. I mean, that was a very complete, brilliant performance. It's probably the best performance anybody's had against Broner, other than maybe Sean Porter. And that was a prime Sean Porter, and he still is. Well, he looked pretty bad after the Ugas fight, but anyway, this is Sean Porter coming off of losing to Brook, and so I mean the idea that Manny Pacquiao, and even including the Maidana fight, Maidana lost quite a few rounds in that match, and Broner looked pretty good here and there. You know, it wasn't a complete shutout like Porter was, like the Manny Pacquiao fight. So you can make the argument that maybe Manny Pacquiao is at least operating on Porter's level. And remember, Porter had a very, very close fight with Thurman. But anyway, back to my point. I mean, also look what he did to Jesse Vargas. I mean, Jesse Vargas has looked fairly decent. Jesse Vargas should have got the win against Broner. Jesse Vargas destroyed Humberto Soto. And fine. This is Soto we're talking about, but this is also a Soto that had come off of had pretty good form and completely dominated Brandon Rios, and who was coming off of destroying Saddam Ali for the first time. And Manny Pacquiao dismantled him. He did not win a round. So, I mean, Jesse Vargas, while he's not that great, he's still very solid welterweight. A welterweight that a lot of the bigger guys might struggle with. Guys like Bud Crawford, like Spence, like Porter, like Thurman. And Manny manhandled him. I mean, Manny has been looking like $1 million, even with the Lucas Matisse victory. You say, well, Matisse was shot. But how shot was he? With the Tua Karam fight, he didn't look that great, but Karam used his length, his reach, and halfway decent footwork to keep him at bay. But still, he was unaffected by his punching power, and when he finally connected, he destroyed Karam. Same thing for with Emmanuel Taylor. He obliterated Emmanuel Taylor. That wasn't even really close to competitive, and he knocked him out pretty violently. And this is an Emmanuel Taylor who just recently had a very, very close fight with Shakram Giasov, who's this heavy-handed Eastern European guy who he went the distance with, and he almost KO'd Giasov a few times. So, I mean, clearly, Lucas Matisse was on the downward trajectory in his career. He hadn't been looking good lately, but nobody ever done that to Lucas Matisse. It was a complete and utter domination, and he completely sucked the will and heart out of Matisse and caused him to retire. So, Manny is not nearly as shot as everybody thinks he is. And then you have Thurman. Thurman coming off of it was almost 2 years off. I don't feel like box wrecking and looking it up. It was in the vicinity of about almost 2 years. And for him to come back against Josecito Lopez, who no person in their right mind could say that Josecito is in fine form. It's not like he is ready to rumble with the best guys in the division. He's still the Josecito Lopez that fought and lost to most of the A-level fighters. I mean, this is the same Josecito Lopez who was completely destroyed by Andre Berto. I mean, Berto knocked him out pretty brutally. And Thurman didn't even come close to doing anything like that. You're not just going to all of a sudden get in good chin. You're not all of a sudden going to get unshot. Josecito hadn't looked good in years. Even the comeback fight he had about a year and a half ago, it was on FS1. I forgot the opponent, but it was a guy who should have gotten out of there, and he went the distance with him. I mean, I might have knocked him down once late in the fight, and then he took on, I believe it was Miguel Cruz, and he was a no-hoper. I mean, he's an average fighter for welterweight. And yeah, Josecito beat him. He should have. But it wasn't like the brilliant performance. That's Josecito's level. He's really good at beating C level, D level guys at welterweight. And yeah, Thurman looked really good for the early part of the fight. He knocked him down, he was dominating him. But for him to fall apart as badly as he did late in that fight is a huge concern. And for him to be as badly hurt by Josecito Lopez as he was, that's another very big concern. And he also, his gas tank was kind of iffy as well. Now, did Manny Pacquiao pick Keith Thurman because he thought he was catching Thurman at the right time? Yeah, he did. Did Thurman not train sufficiently for that match, as he's claiming? Possibly. But he also could just be making excuses and trying to hoodwink everybody into thinking that he has a huge chance here. And he very well might. But you have to ask the question, is Manny Pacquiao's speed, footwork, and ability to get in range as quickly, and he's not as bad as everybody thinks he is when it comes to parrying shots and rolling with shots. His defense is actually pretty sound, and it's gotten a lot better. And the only people that give him problems are unorthodox guys, like Horn. And while Thurman is a very skilled fighter and a very fast fighter, and he has a really good straight right, he does tend to have a lot of problems with southpaws. Robert Guerrero, while Robert lost the vast majority of the first 9 rounds against Thurman, he really wasn't pushing the fight. He was respecting the power. And let's be honest, Robert is not the greatest guy when it comes to dodging punches. He's not known for his defense. And after he got dropped by Thurman, he got up raging. And he went after Thurman like a madman. And he was chasing Thurman all around the ring. And he was beating the living shit out of him. I mean, granted, he did solidly win the 10th round and rocked Thurman a few times. And he probably didn't actually win the last 2. But Thurman was on his bike hauling ass the entire time. And that's not a good look. But Robert is a southpaw. When Robert really went for it, he was starting to hurt him. And then who was another southpaw he fought? Luis Collazo. That fight was stopped on an injury. He didn't legit really, I mean, whatever. He was beating up Collazo, and I don't have a problem with the stoppage, but still, it wasn't like a knockout. And Collazo was starting to have real success, and he was hurting the body. And what is Collazo? He is a southpaw. So Manny Pacquiao is faster and sharper and quicker, and can get in and out of range a lot better than Guerrero can and Collazo can. So 2 guys that had him in spots of bother were both southpaws. And so is Thurman still the diminished version that fought Josecito Lopez, or is he the sharp version that fought Porter and Garcia? But even then, those fights were incredibly close. And so if it goes the distance, and it is a close fight, who is PBC going to side with? You know, they could be building towards a potential Mayweather-Pacquiao 2. And if Thurman won that match, and Thurman has been looking like, like a shot fighter lately, are they really willing to risk a potential huge money fight? They could actually hand the fight to Manny Pacquiao and rob Thurman. That's another something you can take that you have to, figure out. But I'm not really sure. It all depends on just how shot Thurman is. If the Thurman from Josecito Lopez fight shows up, Thurman is screwed. Manny Pacquiao is going to do a number on him, and he's going to stop him. And he's going to stop him late, and he's going to stop him with body shots. Now, if Thurman is on point and is the one that did a number on Porter and Garcia, then the fight is going to be very close. And I still think that Manny Pacquiao is going to close strong, just like Danny Garcia did. And the other thing is, okay, well, can Manny take his power? Probably. Because Manny does not get hit that cleanly And even if he does, I think he's got a chin that's strong enough to be able to take a shot from Thurman. I mean, Thurman hasn't one punch KO'd anybody in a very, very long time, and he's not quite as he does not quite as precise as Marquez. So I doubt he's going to be able to land a haymaker like that that's going to put Manny down and out. He might rock him, he might drop him, but I doubt he's going to be able to knock him out. I mean, if you can't knock out Josecito Lopez at this point, then he's not going to be able to knock out Manny Pacquiao. So I don't know. I'm still confused. I'm conflicted about this match. I don't know which way to go. It all depends on who shows up that night. But what the hell? I'm picking Manny Pacquiao for the late TKO because I do think that Thurman has lost his passion for the sport. I don't think he cares really. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Thurman's. I've been a big hyper of Thurman on Boxing Forum 24 that I write for. But I mean, his lack of interest, his lack of passion lately, and really unwillingness to take risks, it shows me that his heart is not in it anymore. I mean, I think he is enjoying being a hippie and going to Nepal and doing his flute playing a little too much. I think the passion has left him, and he's just showing up for a paycheck. But if a really motivated Thurman shows up from his two best performances, then maybe he might win by close split decision. But I'm banking on the more shot version that could possibly get re-injured again in this fight is going to show up. And if that version shows up, Manny stops him. Okay, there you go.